Make we lose medical students. I go singing for government.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Good morning, St. Vincent and Grenadines. The time is now 7:18. You're listening to Ari and WEFM'S, Roleza, and we are activated mornings this morning. Just want to say good morning to everyone on their way to work, school, just starting their day. Good morning to those in the diaspora, and good morning to everyone always locked into 99.9 WEFM. Good morning, Roleza.
Good morning, Ari, and how are you?
I'm as good as I can be. How was your weekend? Is the first time I'm seeing you?
My weekend was productive. Yeah, it was productive. I figured out how to fix a screeching sound on my machine. So I got that addressed, and nobody is ever more happy when they get things sorted out or fixed on their own. You understand?
All right, strong, independent woman.
So it goes sometimes.
Now, talking about strong, there's a group of people that often get the blame for a lot of things. They're always under heavy scrutiny. A lot of the scrutiny comes from me. I won't lie. A lot of the scrutiny comes from me. But it begs the question, are they being overworked? And are they being paid for the work that they're doing? Now, in case you're wondering who this may be, and good morning, Anne and Joshua, who's always locked on. In case you're wondering who we're talking about members of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. What might have motivated this, you might have asked. During a ceremony last week, Superintendent of Police Closton Francis made a call for better pay and more time off for his staff. Now, outside of the call by the superintendent, there's also a public note made by the PM that a lot of the Coast Guard officers are leaving the Coast Guard for quote-unquote better opportunities. But we'll start with the superintendent of police. So according to Searchlight, the head of the criminal investigation department in the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force, Superintendent of Police Closton Francis is calling for better pay and more time off for members of his staff. And he also wants them not to be overlooked for upward mobility in the constabulary. The CID head made his sentiments known as he delivered an address at the annual awards of the CID on Friday, March 8th, 2024 at the police headquarters, during which WPC 871 Onika Lewis was named top detective for 2023. So Constable Lewis dealt with 79 reported crimes and made 31 arrests. She only had 7 of those reports in her possession at the end of the year. So shout out to Constable Lewis. That is actually quite commendable. He went on to give her praises. He also commended other police officers, WPC 11 Patterson, and okay, I missed the other officer that he commended, but we'll get back to that. Now, coming on to the end, he said that.
Okay, there were constables Costello Edwards,
Thank you,
Henry, and Jack. Right?
Thank you very much. He said that they would deal with 70 to 80 reports per year, while those at the outstations might investigate 12 per year. The outstation officers get more time off than the CID. They get 2 days on, 2 days off. At CID, it is 1 day on, 1 day off. He complained. What bothers him? Well, he said, what bothers me is that they receive the same salary as CID constables. That this can't be right. We all know what constable salary is. I want to submit here and know that there is a need for restructure, the salary of the police officers. We must be paid according to your work. Francis thinks that officers working in his department should receive more pay than those in other areas of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force. Some officers will tell you with no uncertain terms that they do not want to work at CID because it is too hectic, and I myself have heard officers say this. I also believe that CID should be on top of the list in terms of promotion. No other department in the police force works as hard as you do. You should be the first to be promoted. The dance can't pay for the light. Wait, what's your thoughts on this?
All right. So, morning, Francis. I know Francis for years. Now it's a couple of things. When I read it initially, I was like, wow. To actually hear a police officer say this was interesting.
No, the thing is they say it, but they
I've
never,
never heard
yeah,
it
they never
said
come out and say
publicly.
it. Mhm.
That's the thing. I've never heard it said publicly, right? So I suppose commendations to him with regards to being able to speak or having spoken publicly on the matter, right? Because as Ari is saying correctly, we hear the grumblings that we tend to see happening here in SVG or in many places is that, sometimes a manager gets to a certain position and he no longer can relate or understand on him. And the thing of it is that what I've always been curious about, especially with the police force, is that there are times when I wonder when persons ascend in rank, if they no longer can relate to the conditions or the work environments, etc., that their staff goes through. Because to get to a superintendent's position or commissioner's position, it means that more than likely you would have gone through every stage or every step within the force itself. And there are times when I feel like when persons get to the top, maybe they're just trying to hold on to their position so they no longer can relate to what the junior staff is going through. And I'm happy to have heard him express his opinions or his views with relation to his staff. And this helps to boost staff morale, even if it's a case where things don't necessarily change in a hurry. The point is that they feel as if they have somebody who's there in their corner, who's there supporting them, right? The thing, though, is, I mean, I don't know in terms of saying whether CID, let's say staff, should get more pay than the others. I don't know, right? I can't really give a comment with regards to that. I think that might have been the only thing for me, is that I would have preferred for him to say, okay, so they deserve more pay, but not necessarily highlight and say over somebody else, because I think persons might be working hard in the different departments that they are in. Whether or not they work just as hard as those in CID, I can't say.
Yeah, but CID is a lot different than the other departments. Wherein police officers do actually say, boy, I don't want CID work. There's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of interviews, it's a lot of actual detective work trying to find out what exactly is going on. It's not as flashy as going out and having big guns and pulling over vehicles. It's not as relaxed as sitting in a station, more or less taking calls, taking light reports. CID is very in depth, and they need to be on point in putting out their reports, because their reports now have to go to the DPP's office, and the DPP office will send it back to be done properly. So they actually, I do believe, put in a lot of work in that department. I can't necessarily say more than other departments per se, but I do agree that they put in a lot of work in that department. Now, Joshua is saying on the live, and he's saying that it should not have been a public statement. The thing is, we do not know how long they've been complaining. We do not know how long they've been going through what they've been going through. We do not know what other things that what's the name again? Francis. We do not know what Francis have observed his officers going through, and the fact that he can relate to them and he can come out and fight for them is commendable. Now, Joshua is saying he's tactless. I disagree.
All right, so
I disagree.
So the thing is that when I showed it to somebody and they weren't necessarily happy with the statements or the headline, right? And I think the thing that I would say though, Joshua, is is it a case where his opinion has been expressed before to the persons that may be, right? And they have not been taken seriously. So as a result, he has chosen to say it at the award ceremony. Maybe it might have been a case where it was supposed to just be at that ceremony itself for whoever it is needed to hear it, but it came to the attention of the media.
No, I'm pretty sure they invited the media to that ceremony,
Yeah.
and he know exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I don't know if it was necessarily said before to whom it should concern. But yeah, maybe this was just for him to get it to the
Man,
public's attention.
If you're experiencing injustice in your departments and you want to stand up for your officers, stand up for your officers. Because if your officer's not happy, if the worker's not happy, then the job won't be done efficiently. And then even in the same story, went on to list the accolades of WPC 871 Lewis.
And the others, because
And
he,
the others.
he spoke about the drivers as well. He gave commendations to the IT department. You know, so he's looking at it as a whole team, whole team effort.
And he backed it up with the facts.
Yeah.
He listed the statistics on the productivity over the years. And most importantly, what he noted, none of them were arrested or investigated for any immoral or illegal activities. And you know, people say, "Oh, well, that's a given as a police officer," but you'd be surprised.
No, well, it's not given because
You would be surprised.
Yeah.
Look at the same departments harassing some people, shooting people mistakenly, all kind of nonsense happening, and he could brag and say, "This does not happen in the CID," and we're still being diligent and putting out the work. So raise the pay of the officers. And you notice he didn't include himself. He's talking about the officers below him. This is a fight for his staff. I can't say that that's tactless, honestly.
Yeah, but you see, this is the other thing that we always have to speak on as well, is why are people so afraid to say certain things in society? You know, if you feel the need to, as Ari saying, to address something, then address it. If you feel the reason to highlight something, highlight it. You know, I just find, and that's why I said, did I use the word brave? I can't remember if I used the word brave initially, but that is why I said initially it took me back in terms of being surprised that it was even said, because generally these things aren't said, especially within the police force. As I said, they would grumble amongst themselves, but they would not necessarily bring it to the attention of the public. And in this case, because it came through an article.
Like Joshua says on the live, which organ of the body is of greatest value? No one would argue. I believe he's trying to say the head. But the head can't function without the body.
Yeah. It's only unless it's the appendix, and people don't know what it's about. But anyhow, you know, unless it's some parts of the body that you could probably be rid of. But the thing of it is that it all has to work together. All parts have to work together.
But then you also hear the members of the Coast Guard saying that it's too much pressure, it's too much work. They go into oil rigs, they go into other institutions in the Caribbean to work. They go into the US and they go into England. And I know a lot of them that would say, listen, the work that we're doing, we are not being paid enough to do this work. I rather go on the oil rig, no matter how dangerous it is a much better pay. And it makes more sense than the thankless jobs that I'm doing here.
Yeah, the other thing with this is that, well, I worked with police officers for several years, so I would have heard a lot of the grumblings, and part of it has to do with the promotion or lack of promotion, right? There are persons who would be, and I'd always say this, it baffled me to hear, let's say, a death announcement of an officer who was in the force for, let's say, 30-something years, and you're hearing police constable, right? Before I understood what was happening with the system, my initial thought was that this person was probably not working, you know, which is why it is that you could be there for 30-something years and not be promoted. But having understood what is happening within the system itself, I can understand their frustrations. You know, I cannot see myself in a job, let's say, after 5 years, actually putting in the work. I'm not talking about just giving me a promotion on account of time served. Actually putting in the work, and there isn't any recommendation for at least a promotion. I cannot see myself in any sort of work environment like that. You know,
what we'll do though, we'll stick up in here.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to talk about on this topic, because it's not just one department. There are different departments where people are saying, yeah, nah, let me get out there. I could do better. So the time is now 7:32. We have Traffic Talk coming at 7:35, and then we'll be back to wrap up this discussion at 7:45 with Activated Mornings. We'll be right back.